Hey everyone, it's Trafotin. Everywhere on the internet, people brag about the freedom and choice that Linux offers you. And while it's not too complicated, Linux actually has less choice if you're someone who cares about the life decisions you make. And I'm going to unpack in my TED Talk, just shy of 20 minutes, why Linux's choice is basically non-existent when you actually drive down to it. People like to think that their computer is all about choice, and you can go ahead and crucify me, but this choice is actually much more limited than you might think. And I say that as someone who has a YouTube channel and has to constantly be under the microscope when he recommends things to other people. Linux just so happens to be a desktop operating system that offers the most choices, but I would argue some of them are fake choices at best, or serious pitfalls at worst. Let's back that up with an example, like say your desktop environment or your window manager. Linux has lots of desktop environments. We've got things like GNOME, KDE, XFCE, Mate, Cinnamon, LXQT, and LXDE. But if you're a window manager user, you've got plenty too. You've got i3, Awesome, Sway, Xmonad, BSP, WM, and so many more. But when you really drill down to what matters, you want a system that's comfortable to use, convenient for you too, secure, and efficient at getting what you need to get done. But sometimes when you pick some of these values, that choice begins to fall apart a little bit. So let's take security for an example, and I think you'll start to see what I mean. In order to promote the secure Linux desktop, we need to be using Wayland. Wayland is the next generation of display management on Linux and is much more secure than the legacy windowing system X11.
So if you say Wayland is broken, that's like saying English is broken because you can't decide where to go for dinner with your wife.
So how many of what I just showed actually supports Wayland? The answer is only 3 of them: GNOME, KDE, and Sway. It's a hard truth that shows that there's actually less choice if you want a desktop environment that's forward-facing and cares about your security, because most desktop environments and window managers are still using X11 and are stuck in the past. Now, I don't want to downplay the work of these desktops either, because I'm not saying that it's easy, because if it was easy, people would have moved already. But some of Linux users practically worship their desktop environment or their window manager and ricing, and it's just disgusting. Look, if I have a device which is capable of watching movies and my anime and communicating with my friends and family, that's more valuable than gold to me.
Oh, I don't want to see your feet pics. I want to sell mine.
The mentality that I believe we all need to take is that of a digital nomad. And what does that mean? I'll try to unpack that here. If you use something and that something isn't keeping up with your needs, it's become older and more inconvenient to use, it isn't receiving updates, or it isn't keeping up with the fast-paced environment of industry standards or security standards, then we need to move on and find something better in life. Do not have a horse in the race or play favorites with software. The moment you do, that horse will lose and you will be very disappointed. By not being attached to the stupid software you use, you will never be disappointed. You'll just be disappointed all the time. Therefore, you can never be disappointed. With the example that I gave earlier, most desktop environments and window managers can't keep up with the fast pace of development, either due to lack of developers, funding, or leadership. GNOME and KDE both have large foundations behind them, which prove that the Linux desktop space is capable of moving fast because they have lots of developers, funding, and great leadership. And that doesn't mean you can't go slow either, because we have things like the Sway window manager, which is capable of building up WL roots so it can be adopted by all of the other people who want to use window managers on Wayland. But it also means that you can't go too fast, and that's why most people don't willingly package Hyperlands because of how many updates it receives. It's a careful balance that developers need to play, and I, for one, do not envy that decision-making or process. But wait, it gets worse. Not only does your desktop environment, or your window manager for that matter, when it comes to speed, it's your packages and everything you install all the way down to your operating system that you dump on top of it. And this is why I've chosen Fedora as my operating system. Now, that doesn't mean you can't choose something else, because there's things like OpenSUSE Tumbleweed, you got Arch Linux, maybe you want to try one of the new Fedora immutable spins. Fedora is just on the cutting edge of the Linux desktop, and has been dead set on revolutionizing the Linux desktop as we know it. Many things that are essential to Linux, like Flatpak, Wayland, and image-based distributions like Fedora Silverblue and Kinoid and Saracea and Pipewire and full description and so much more. Using Fedora is why I've been a long-time advocate for rolling release distributions. Fedora has always been first to push these new technologies, which means that eventually your system will not only become more usable for you, but also more secure. And let me tell you, having outdated and crusty packages installed on your system, like GNOME 3.22, which when I used it at the time had a severe memory leak that went unpatched for years, and that just feels wrong. No offense to Debian, it's a joy to work with on the server and in the cloud, but for desktop usage, nah, I'll pass. Not only that, it does a disservice to the people who work so hard to create their software, only to find out that there are weirdos in the wild using ancient versions that they can't help them with. It's about getting as close as we can to what's actually given to users right down from the Git repo. We're seeing Canonical drop support for Firefox, or move Cups to be a snap package, or Red Hat dropping LibreOffice, but supporting these official Snap and Flatpak from Firefox or the LibreOffice means that you're getting an experience that's been directly curated by Firefox and LibreOffice developers. It's only better for everyone. And I know there's some serious distrust over people updating their computer because installing feature updates will break my computer. Guys, stop this. This is a fallacy created by Microsoft because they beta test updates on their users, and they've been doing it since Windows 7. Unless you use Arch Linux, this is not how the world works. Features are not bad. Features fix problems and make your life better. If you are seriously concerned about stability, maybe you do need to consider something like the immutable distributions like Fedora Silverblue or NixOS. You don't like an update? You can roll back if you encounter a problem, and you get to experience the awesome new features. Because the other situation that I want to stress on top of this is everyone, and I mean everyone, treats Linux like it's a silver bullet, but there actually is one critical choice that's taken away when you choose to use Linux. You want to know what it is? It's called using proprietary software, and I know this is gonna piss some people off, but it's true. Let me speak from experience as someone who does quasi-professional video editing, photo editing, design work, and uploads videos to dumb platforms online that hundreds of people watch. I use Adobe's products pretty regularly at work, and I'm pretty familiar with the Serif's Affinity Suite, and let me tell you, unless I was using Inkscape, every other open source solution felt like I was handicapping myself. GIMP's supposed stable version is actually more unstable than the beta version. I can't even open files that I created with it anymore, and I have to use the beta version. And Kdenlive, don't even get me started. You can't even get it to show something on the screen accurately, and especially if you use proxy clips. What's that? You didn't use a proxy clip, so now the playback has slowed to a crawl? Oh, what are you gonna do? Because the plot thickens. If you use proprietary software on Linux, because I use DaVinci Resolve Studio on Linux, yes, the one you pay money for, you are limited in what codecs you can use because as a US-based company, Blackmagic Studio can't package it because of the stupid American legal system, and Linux can't pay for it like Apple and Microsoft can. I mean, why would they? It's literally endless amounts of money being dumped away for the MPAA. You might not like proprietary software, and trust me, I don't either. But the fact of the matter is, if something can be done easier with proprietary software, and the proprietary software isn't explicitly trying to phone home or do malicious things to you, or you just want to support a commercial product, I'm going to do it there, and I'm not going to stop you from doing it. Because the reality is, at the end of the day, it's all about getting what you need to get done. And if that forces you to surrender to Windows or macOS, and you just want one operating system where you do everything and you're sick of dual booting, you should just use Windows or macOS. If you're a creative type like me, and you're tired of the awful behavior of Microsoft, who's getting worse and worse every day, go use macOS to do what you need to do, like say, edit your photos in Lightroom or something. All I ask is that you are aware of the privacy invasion of Apple's telemetry and the trap of the Apple ecosystem and the dreaded iCloud. What's that? You want to play Destiny 2 or Rainbow Six Siege without the fear of being penalized or banned because you're an epic gamer? Go use Windows, because Linux can't play those games. It's all about doing what works for you. And that's what's most important after all. If you use your computer as a tool, that's great, but only as a tool. Temper your expectations and acknowledge what you can or cannot do, but always leave the door open to learn and never get attached to anything, and control your data and your privacy as much as possible. At the end of the day, all the stupid stuff is me complaining about text buzzing around in a computer. Speaking of text buzzing around the screen, why don't you go click the 4-character thing called the like button? If you like this video, Google will send some little text my way and feed their surveillance capitalism machine. And why don't you go subscribe to the channel? Alright, thank you for watching. I'll catch you later. Have a great rest of your week.